So, very good morning to all of you. Friends, welcome back to Anthropology PYQ series. So friends, we are on day 50 of our series, and in today's discussion also, let's take up one question and let's try to master the question. So stay with me till end so that you can understand this particular question and approach appropriately. So on this note, it's me, your Dr. Suresh Guramkunda. Let's begin the discussion with the question of the day. So now, the question of the day with us is from paper 2, as we are doing with the anthropology paper 2. So paper 2, and this is another important thing. So where the question is from the village studies, Indian village studies. So this is the question. So look at the question once in a systematic way. So the village was not merely a place where people lived. It had a design in which were reflected the basic values of Indian civilization. Who said this? Elaborate. So this was the question, and that has been given. So this is one simple to say something that a kind of basic applicative oriented question. So where we have to just give the elaboration of this particular statement. Now, for such kind of questions, you need to have different kind of knowledge. So where first and foremost thing you need to possess is that you need to know the factual knowledge that who has given this particular statement. Then you need to have basic interpretation ability that what this particular states particularly like that. Then only you can just give your elaboration or you can just give its explanation. So that's where the question is. So for the first thing that we can do is that we can just proceed with who has given this statement and what about that. So this statement, if you see from the perspective of this statement, so this statement has been systematically given by, coming up to the details of the statement, it has been given by famous anthropologist known as Andrew Betteley. So Andrew Betteley has been given this particular statement, right? So this is very, very important thing that you should know. So then where he has given this, so this is another important information. So Andrew Betteley has given this statement in an essay known as The India Present and the Past. So this was the area where he has given this particular thing. So very good morning those who have joined again. So where he has given means the Indian village in the past and present. The Indian village, the past and present. So this is the essay. So in this particular essay, so Andrew Betteley has systematically given this one. So this essay was published. This essay, it was published in a book. So where the name of the book was The Peasants in History. So that was the book. So this essay was further present in a book titled or named The Peasant History. So these things he has done it in the year 1980. So this is one basic information that you must and should possess about the given statement. So once again, just have a look at the statement and try to just catch or stay with this particular question. Village was not merely a place where people lived, but it had a design in which were reflected the basic values of Indian civilization. So this is the statement. Now what this statement says, the statement simply says that Indian villages are not merely the places of dwelling. Rather than Indian villages are the microcosm of Indian society where all the values and all the basic ideals and the framework of the Indian civilization do exist. So that's the basic inference of this particular thing. So what we have to just explain, so what is the basic inference of the statement? So let's try to explain, understand that. So inference of the statement. So inference is that, so Indian, it is all about the Indian villages. So Indian villages, we can say that it is not only a place to live. So place to live, rather it possesses the basic framework of Indian values and ethics. So this is where you can have it. In a very simple fashion, you can have like that. So this is the inference of this statement. So basic values and all those things have been reflected. So the design means the basic framework. So this is where. So now in the question, so it has been given like that. So now we have to systematically elaborate this particular thing. So did anyone has attempted, or did anyone has tried to attempt this particular question? So you can just give your input. So how you can just elaborate and how you can just explain this. So in the first stance, what best you can do is that you have to systematically say that how what are the important features of this particular thing. So this is one thing that you have to mention, right? So first, let's try to check that. So where if you see from particularly the Indian village, Indian villages and the distinctive features, so that we can just come to one basic inference. So how these features will be reflected in the core framework of the Indian civilization. So let's try to explore that. So here, if you see systematically there, first and foremost thing, what we can do is with respect to, we can check from the social framework of the Indian villages. So what is the social framework of Indian villages? So in the social framework, that means from the societal perspective, what we can expect is that, so first and foremost thing that you can see here is that you can see a kind of a systematic social hierarchy. Systematic social hierarchy you can see in the Indian villages, which would be further can be seen throughout the India. So that is one important aspect. Then, if you look from the social organization point of view, so the social organization is very well present. So society has been systematically organized into different aspects. And if you look from the perspective of the settlements, so the settlement pattern of the society is settled or like is segregated. That means is segregated there, where you can see the dominant castes, or like dominant castes are the people belonging to the higher social strata. They'll be at the center of the village, and the people from the lower hierarchy, so they'll be there at the periphery of the village. So this is one important aspect, right? So then furthermore, if you look into other aspects, so in Indian villages we can have a systematic occupational specialization. systematic occupational specialization. That would be there here furthermore. So you can see that all the communities have systematically divided the labor, and they'll have this kind of hereditary just occupation of the this kind of labor. So that's one another important aspect. So furthermore, if you see in the realm of the societal framework, so these are some of the basic things that you can see, where the social organization, so where we can pick this, that the caste system is prevalent. So in almost all the villages. So this is one thing that you can mention and you can just highlight. So furthermore, if you see, so what about the cultural framework of the Indian villages? So what about the culture and what about the various other aspects? So if you look from the perspective of the cultural framework, so various cultural aspects have been there. So first we can take up in the culture, we can take the way of their living. So the way of living, so each and every village will have a peculiar way of living with typical ethics and values. So that's one important aspect. Then if you see from their family type of aspects, so what about the family? So mostly the family is like we will have a kind of joint family system. So this is traditionally, if you see, so traditional joint family system can be seen. So this is where we can have one important aspect, right friends? So then within the family, if you see, so how the kinship networks, so kinship, so we can have a kind of extended kinship network. Extended kinship patterns can be seen. So where the kinship will not only restricted to the family members, rather the kinship will be extended beyond the family. So that's one other important aspect that you should remember in this context. And then furthermore, if you see, what about their, say for example, the religious and such kind of practices and beliefs. So religious and you can say ritualistic practices. So if you look from the perspective of religion, each and every village will have a kind of communal worship practices. Communal worship will be followed. Communal worship means all the group of the people will congregate at a place and they will follow some worship practices, and not only this, that they will also practice common ritualistic practices. So this is another important aspect that you should remember. So plus common ritualistic practices. So this is one another important thing that you should remember. So from the cultural point of view. So then furthermore, if you see, what about their relationship with the nature? So relationship with the nature. So nature relationship, it is an intrinsic practice. So they'll be intrinsically connected with the nature. So each and every village will have their own specificality with respect to the nature. So they will be intricately connected with that. So this is one another important aspect. So that we can pick and that we can mention. So in the societal framework, in the cultural framework, this is one important thing. Then furthermore, moving on to other aspects, say for example, so what about the things with respect to the political and the governance related framework? So how this will be there? So if you see from the perspective of the political and governance framework, so political and governance framework. So in this, if you systematically see, so most of the villages have their own self-governance mechanisms in the form of one or other way. So that's one another important thing. So we have self-governance mechanisms are present. So for example, to say, so village panchayats, we can see this. So these village panchayats are the units that are responsible for the political administration as well as the governance administration, and in sometimes they will also look into some of the judiciary aspects also. So village council will be there. So this village council will help in adjudication of the disputes. They'll help in the adjudication of the disputes. So this is one another important thing that you should remember. So in this way, like the panchayats and panchayats will look into social order and social control, and they will look into adjudication of disputes. So this is where, so they will have that kind of thing. So this is one another important aspect that we can mention. So then friends, if you see from other aspects, so what about their economic organization and economic framework? So economic interdependence. So this is very important aspect that we should understand. So I hope like you were able to catch the way that we are proceeding. So we are just now going to proceed and understand the economic framework. So economic framework. So what was the economic framework? So in the Indian villages, we can see a peculiar practice, traditional peculiar practice, that is known as the Jajmani system. So have you heard about the Jajmani system? Right. So now let's see what is this Jajmani system. So Jajmani system, it's a traditional economic interdependence system. It's a kind of reciprocal relationship, reciprocal exchange system between two important players. So what are those two important players? So one will be the Yajman and other will be the Kamin. So this is two things. So what is this? So in a very simple fashion to say, it's a kind of reciprocal exchange of goods and services. Goods and services between Yajman and Common. So this is where we can say this in a different fashion, where we can say it's like a patron and client relationship. Patron and client relation, where patron will try to provide them some work, and he provides some grains and all such kind of things to him, whereas client will provide certain services in return to this. So that's where, so we can have this. So this is a peculiar system where we can see such kind of arrangement. So furthermore, so mostly the Indian villages are run with agrarian economic setup. Agrarian economic setup. So where mostly agriculture and allied activities will be focused. Agriculture and allied activities will be focused. So that means, say for example, be it could be horticulture, be it could be you can think about the pastoralism, be it could be other things related to the agriculture. So this is where, so it will be done. So if you see from the Indian villages, so all such kind of basic frameworks and all such kind of basic values would be reflected. So now you just try to understand this in a systematic way that, so this framework or this design which we can see in the villages is a cornerstone to define or to explain the Indian culture and the Indian civilization. So when we talk about Indian civilization, so India is made up of different states. So different states are further made up of different villages. So village is the basic unit of societal study. So another important aspect. So there, when we systematically study the villages, so we can just infer, so what are the basic values and what is the basic framework of the India, so that we can understand. So that's where, friends, so this is in a simple fashion to say Indian village has had all these features, and all these features, whatever we are trying to just see, so these features contains some intrinsic values. So these values are represented in the Indian civilization. So same things, if you look into the features of Indian society, you can see all these basic features. So it could be the caste system, that is segmentary division of the society into different castes. So occupational specialization, so social hierarchy, or it could be the family system, traditional joint family system, or like the kinship patterns, or all these things are immensely and directly reflected in the Indian features. So that's the basic inference of the question, and that's how you have to elaborate, and that's how you have to conclude the answer. Is that clear for you all? So if there are any particular doubts in understanding this particular question or something, you can just mention in the comment section. So you can just mention that not only Andrew Betali, so there were so many other scholars who have contributed immensely to the village studies. Say about Makim Marriott, say about, you can say S.C. Dubey. So all the important scholars like S.C. Dubey, Makim Marriott, so they also have given their own inputs with respect to the studies of villages. So that's where you can just bring in their context and you can just conclude the answer. Is that clear for you all? So if there are any particular doubts, you can text in the comment chart, in the comment box, and you can expect that I would be there to help you. So friends, just do not look and do not listen and do not leave these concepts. So I sincerely and strongly advise you that you must and should write answers for all these questions. So until and unless you write, so you cannot expect that your writing skills will be improved. So keep writing and keep watching the series successfully. So we have done with the 50 episodes. So this was the 50th episode. So those who are newly watching, so please go and watch the earlier questions also and try to learn how better you can write answers for these particular questions. So that's all for the day from my side. Friends, we'll meet again on the next question, with the next question on Monday, and let's try to know the approach and answer for that particular question also. So meanwhile, keep revising, keep writing, and keep updated with your preparation. Thank you all for joining me with the session. So it's me, your Dr. Suresh Kuramkunda, the Faculty of Anthropology at Sriram IAS. So signing off. Thank you all.